I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Ooh. Yes, let the buzz begin about all things God and me.
Yes.
What's up, y'all? We've missed you guys so much. Did you guys miss us? Well, you know, I'm your favorite Afro-Latina, Franceli, and I got my girls here with me.
Hey.
Say hi to the friends. Remind them who you are.
But hey, y'all already know it's your girl Rochelle, and I'm so excited to see you guys. We were on a little break because the show was on a break, but we are more than excited to be back and talk all good things of God, you know. What about you, friend?
Hey everyone, I'm Mina, and we're reunited. It feels so good.
So good.
Yes.
So good. So real quick, last week's episode, the princess and the hacker was so cute. We got to see, you know, Rakesh really just bring out his new app, Soulmates, thinking it's all about him getting back to Jaya, but it really was about getting him to a princess, which was the new friend request, and we went on that whole journey, and we got to really talk about soulmates, which let us know in the comments, guys, what do you think about soulmates? Do you believe in soulmates? Is it real? I think my favorite quote from last week's episode was her definition of what a soulmate was, which is, soulmate is a good spirit that takes on a human form to help you along your journey and will always be there for you. I was like, oh, that's so cute. So we went on that whole journey. She became queen. We were really excited and happy about that. But where we left off was still trying to figure out, how we always try to figure out, is who's behind the God account. And really just that Miles and Cara are in a really great space, sort of, kind of, for being friends. But let's get into it about this episode, Raspberry Pi, episode 14, which tonight, they really had to navigate their friendship in really tricky places. What did you think about tonight's episode? And how do you navigate working with your ex? Because, I mean, they're working together. They're still a team. How do you stay friends after a breakup?
You know, this is so hard because I definitely think it varies depending on the nature of your relationship. And I think what was so frustrating about the relationship between Miles and Cara is that it kept going back and forth. It was like, yeah, I love you. Yeah, I don't know, I can't say that word yet. And it didn't feel like it was an all-in investment from both sides. It felt like Miles was very much like, I'm all in, I'm patient, I'm here. And I felt like Cara had her own issues that she had to deal with. And for a relationship to work, like, both people have to come to it really having a conversation about what they're committed to. And I don't think they really had that conversation of, like, I'm committed to X, Y, and Z, and, like, do our commitments align? And how do we, like, you know, keep our integrity in this relationship where we always remind ourselves what we're committed to? It almost felt like Cara kind of, like, dropped off and, like, self-sabotaged. Not that it's her fault per se, but if you're gonna do that, then you don't deserve to be with someone who already knows exactly what they want, right? Like, if you don't know what you want and someone else does, then bye-bye. Like, you miss out on the opportunity. I'm sorry, that's, like, how life is. And I think, you know, maybe there's better things in store for both of them, as sad as that is. I mean, there's, like, a positive spin on that, though.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. You know, unfortunately, it did seem like it was more of a 70-30% type of thing. If it was 30%, not all on Cara's end. But Miles, he was doing everything.
Shade. That's total shade. So does that explain why Miles is asking questions about possibly dating other people? I mean, do you feel like he has a right to ask those kind of questions? I mean, they are friends, but, like, what are the boundaries with being friends with your ex is what I'm thinking about. Because that's what I was thinking about. I was like, it's kind of none of your business.
Yeah.
If I want to go out with somebody or not.
Wow. I agree with you with that. Well, me personally, I don't believe in friends after the relationship. That's just me personally.
Rochelle says if we're done, we're done.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's just so much strength and so much that you have to go through emotionally to get yourself back. So to me, it's just like you trying to be, trying to not be an alcoholic anymore, but you're going to the bar every week. It's just hard. To me, it's just a little, like, I don't know. It's too much for me.
I mean, in theory, them being friends works now because they're both single.
And they're both strong. And
so we'll see what happens when they start dating other people. But this week's friend suggestion was Miles, or we thought it was Miles, but come to find out it's a clone page, and it's really a young kid named Zach Waller who's hacking people's pages to get money, right? Absolutely. So we go on this whole trail with this young kid and kind of him trying to get to his future, but put his future in jeopardy. What did you think about the course that we were taking on? Because I honestly was a little disappointed. I don't know about y'all, but I felt like it would have been interesting if the God account really did suggest Miles for real. And we went on a journey of like self-reflection and self-awareness and like where he is at this point as far as he's gotten. Because I think that when you're in a position of leadership and helping people, you can kind of get a little high on your own coattail and kind of be feeling yourself like, look at all of what I've done. And sometimes you need to kind of take some inventory of like, where are some places you still have room to grow. So I would have really liked to see that trajectory, but instead they decided to go this way. So what did you guys think?
I totally agree with you. I was so excited because I'm like, oh, like he's actually going to be on a journey to help himself. And, you know, the God Friended Me account on Twitter posted something, I think maybe a week ago, like, if you were a friend's suggestion, what would Miles help you with? And I thought that was so interesting because I started to think, like, what do I need help with?
Ooh,
and like that self-reflection coming into this week and, you know, really watching this episode, I was like, oh, was this like some sort of like Twitter, like, you know, foreshadowing of what's to come in this episode? So I was disappointed that it was, you know, a hacked account. But at the same time, how would you get a friend request from your own account anyway? It makes sense that it was a duplicate account. And I still like that, you know, he was like helping another person. I just really, really want to see him help himself as well and like really like feel that self-discovery with Miles.
Yeah. Wow. I just want to shout out Ivan.
Yes.
As usual, you know, he's
Ivan,
in the chat. We love you,
what's
love you, love
up?
you. But he did, he said he may have to stop watching us if I keep bashing Cara. So I just want to explain to you that definitely this is a panel full of love and we just have different perspectives. That's what makes us awesome. So I really hope that you don't think that we're bashing Cara because he said it's not just one, you know, it's not just one or two. So Cara is love and we appreciate her character so much. And that's why we're so passionate about it, but we do appreciate everybody on the show.
We do.
But we are open to different perspective, and that's why we appreciate you in the chat for giving that.
Yes. Speaking of Cara, so Cara and Miles, I feel like on this episode, they divided and conquer. Miles kind of stayed on the trajectory of like helping Zach and trying to get to the bottom of that, while, you know, Adam came back in the picture in this episode and is helping her figure out how to get to this hacker who we know a few episodes before left them this clue of this. Well, they didn't know it was a clue, queen. But it was like this card. They were like, oh, they're playing us. So it's like she kind of went and did her own thing. He's doing his own thing. How do we feel about the divide and conquer? And is the show setting us up to be okay with maybe it being this way moving forward? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's so cool about this season especially is we've been introduced to new characters. I mean, we had Joy in the beginning of season 2, and we're like, you know, we were all kind of like closed off to the idea of a new person to the team, but then we warmed up to her. So I think it's really interesting to see how the dynamics change, if Miles is going to continue to even run the God account. We really don't know. I think the whole point is like, it's almost like doing God's work. It doesn't matter who does it, just that it's being done. And I think that whoever, like, gets the torch handed off to them next, like, it's almost just, like, a test of, like, oh, like, are you able to, like, be the messenger for the God account and help these people? Because it doesn't really matter who does the helping, just that the act itself is being done by someone who can learn from that.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm actually kind of excited by the idea of them splitting up because it's kind of, like, relationships change. You're not going to be with the same person, like, working on something your entire life. It was getting a little stale, so it's like nice.
I was gonna say, and I love that it gives more definition to the show, I guess, and longevity, because it's like we went through that hump of like, oh my gosh, they're finally gonna make, you know, like season 1 we were like, okay, are they gonna do this? Are you gonna kiss? Are you gonna take the rose? Like, what's going on? You know?
Right.
And now with them moving on and they're, you know, starting to. Maybe, you know, there's a possibility that they'll be dating other people that gives it longevity. But Ivan says that they need to get back together. So hopefully, in the sake of Ivan, that, you know, they work it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe, maybe not. It's interesting because another thing that I felt was missing in this episode and a few episodes. Have y'all not noticed? He doesn't do the podcast. Like, I'm not, you know, at the end of every episode, I used to love, like, when Miles would, like, go off and, you know, recap what he's learned. And it's like the button to the end of the show with the podcast. And that's been missing, guys.
Was it for the past 2?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I
Maybe
didn't
past
notice
3
that.
episodes, we don't get the podcast.
But he still said that when he was speaking to the new friend suggestion, that he did say that I am.
He said, I have a podcast.
Yeah.
So where's it at?
Yeah.
Everybody take a break.
You
We took a
know.
break. Give my friend a little break.
You're right.
Give
We
my
need
friend a
to
break.
give Miles Finer some grace.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But bring on back the podcast. I need it in my
There's
life.
no sermons either. I mean, there's no
I know.
sermons, there's no preaching. And I really
No word.
definitely looked forward to the podcast at the end of every
Right.
episode. I thought that was like one of the best things about the
Yeah.
show because it was just like so like it was so
Yeah.
perfect, you know, it's the perfect bow to the end of it. But maybe it's good because maybe he hasn't learned the lesson yet.
Right.
Hello.
Maybe he hasn't figured it out.
You know what's so interesting? Because, Mina, you made a great point about it's like not who gets the credit, about, you know, just making sure God's work continues to be done. And I think there's this misconception of like, in order to be doing God's work or be in ministry, you have to be in ministry in that official capacity of being a preacher. But look at how God is still using an atheist, right? And I feel like he's still preaching through the podcast. Like,
Absolutely.
you can have a ministry through being a teacher, a janitor. You know, there are all kinds of works that you can minister to people, help people, love on them, and they can never step foot into a church but see God or feel God through you. They can
Absolutely.
experience God through the light on the inside of you. So that's also why, to get real personal, I guess that's why I'm really missing the podcast, because I feel like that was our way of getting the God on the inside of Miles.
Yeah.
You know, because you're not going to get it the traditional way. And I love that the show kind of does that. It's like his dad is the traditional way, and the
Right.
son was like the more, you know,
Millennial.
yeah, the millennial prophet, you know, hence the name of, like, it's just so beautiful. So guys, if
Yeah.
you see this, I'm just really advocating for the millennial prophet to come.
I think also one of the biggest things that like stands out to me, I think in every single episode, what we find out is that human empathy and patience is like the biggest thing in every single episode, because just like in this episode, how he doesn't jump to like report the son to the police, even though the son's being like a little brat. Like Zach Waller is just like, he's a smart ass. He thinks he knows everything. He doesn't respect, you know, Miles or authority. He just has like this mission that he wants to accomplish.
Right.
And he doesn't care what's at stake, because for him, that's his ultimate goal. And he's 16 years old. He can't really see the consequences of his actions because
Yeah.
he's so short-sighted that he thinks, oh, I'm going to get this done. So what I was so impressed with in this episode is that Miles was just so empathetic and understanding despite the frustration, despite constantly like having his phone hacked and like being set off course. He was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to still be patient. I'm going to be empathetic. There has to be a reason why he's doing this. People aren't necessarily inherently good or bad. There's a reason why they're doing these things, and why, you know, we justify the mistakes we make because we think, well, this is more important, so it doesn't matter if I'm doing something dishonest because, you know what, my mission is X, Y, and Z. So I love that about the show, just the focus on empathy and patience.
I agree with that 100% because I was losing a little bit of patience for young men. I was ready to call the cops.
I mean, I wanted to snatch him up by his little neck and be like, Luke.
That little neck right there was right.
Yes, and, you know, a lot of the things that we go through is not for us. Think about it. Miles went through it himself. He lost his mom at a young age. He was very angry to the point that he left the church and lost faith in God. So you don't know that all these years later when you're an adult and that you're like got friended by a God account, that you're going to meet a 16-year-old kid that's in the same kind of situation, you know, or the preview we got to next week that there's someone battling cancer themselves. Like, again, sometimes you go through these really things that you can't explain why you're going through them, but a lot of times it's so you can help someone else out of their own darkness.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful that our stories and our testimonies can be used for other people. And before we go on to the next thing, because I want to talk about Allie and everything she's going through, why don't y'all tell the people how they can keep watching us and all the good stuff that we do here at AfterBuzz?
Well, friends, we are so excited that you guys are, you know, listening to us, watching us. We really appreciate it because you guys continue to bless us to be able to do the things that we love, which is hosting and interacting with you guys. So if you guys are listening on iTunes or on the podcast, we'll appreciate if you guys give us a thumbs up, subscribe, share it, comment,
5
talk
stars.
to us, please, and thank you. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe. You won't get any pesky or weird little notifications or anything, is able to just not bother you. And you can check out all the thrillers and all different types of show, because we have like a after show for like every show. So we appreciate you guys. We thank you guys for engaging with us and continue to let us do what we appreciate.
Yes, thanks for making us the ESPN
of TV talk. Yes, ma'am.
So I really want to get into Allie's story. You know, as we know, she's been fighting really hard to get her brother and her dad on the same page of why it was so important for her to freeze her eggs first before she goes into her chemo treatment for breast cancer. So she's sitting at this clinic. There's a girl there who's making contact. I knew right away that there was some chemistry.
You're good,
Rochelle,
though.
you were over there, like it went over your head. You thought,
you like you said it. I do not have a gaydar, so I do apologize. I thought it was a pretty girl making conversation, because that's me. I'll be in a like, girl, what you up in here for? What we freezing today? You know, like, but I'm not trying to get at you.
But you could feel the chemistry. Like it felt like there was like a sexual undertone.
Yeah,
like, you
it just took me
feel
a minute.
it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're definitely slow when it comes to, you know.
Girl.
I feel bad for anyone who hits on you and is just going like right over your head, and they feel so rejected by you.
Damn, please
It's like the Matrix. But it's interesting because, I was making a joke that, you know, Allie Milkshake brings all the girls to the yard, okay? Because, you know, Allie's really pretty. You know, she's pretty and she's smart and she's just so easy to talk to. Like, I just really love Allie's character. So it makes sense that people would just want to talk to her. So here she finds someone that she has common ground with. They're having a really great conversation. And then she just shows up at the bar and, you know, asks her out on a date. And Allie shuts her down. I was like... On one end, I was like, Emily was being a little too forward and fast. I was like, girl, slow down a second. I almost thought that maybe she got cancer too. Like, you got one life to live. You're trying to get there really quick. So what do you guys think about Emily's approach? What do you think about Allie shutting her down? Like, what did you guys think?
I'm 27. I feel like I'm like, not like old, but I'm definitely here for it. As in saying that what you won't, get it. That's my purpose. It's just like, you know, who knows when you might see that person again. I live for today. You know, I live for the grace for today. So I'm all here for, if you like it, go get it. If they're not for it, keep it pushing. So I appreciate it. I thought she was gorgeous. That's what I was stunned on. Her teeth, it was so pretty. I would have been like, girl, what you use? Crest Lightning or something? Like, you bomb. But I'm here for it. I really appreciate her for going after what she wanted.
Right.
It was a little forward. I guess the little sexual undertone you were talking about. But I mean, hey, they probably, you know, they trying to get in where they fit in.
Yeah. I mean, you know what's funny? I feel like, you know, it's so much less threatening for a girl to be like really forward about what they want than a man to be forward, because if that were like a guy, I would just be like, oh my god, like relax, like can you like not, like I feel like I'm gonna get attacked or something. Yeah. But like with a female, I would just be like, oh my god, I'm so flattered, like thanks, like no thank you, but like wow, I'm like super flattered. I just feel like it's a different, like because of like how society is and how gender is, it just feels different. And, like, good for her for going after what she wanted. She did come across as a little too strong. But I also think, like, the way dating and relationships work, like, your idea of, like, what's acceptable is based on how attracted you are to the person. Ooh. As crazy as that is.
That's a word.
I never even knew that, and I love it.
If you're attracted to the person, you're like, oh, wow, like, yeah, like, I'm down. If you're not, you're like, ew, like, you're being too forward and aggressive. So it really just depends on, you know, on that.
Ivan said he likes them together, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, I do too.
I like them together too, and I'm really glad that, you know, she went to Mr. Finer for that fine, good advice about, you know, that although you're facing this terminal illness and life, you're not sure of a future, but you still, while you're still living, you gotta live and take risks. And I really love that she went back to talk to her and say, hey, you know what? Transparency and vulnerability is so important in any kind of relationship. Friendships, co-workers, like to really make something work, it's so important for people to know what you're going through. Because you can show up at a job and show up in a way that's just not yourself. And people are like, what's wrong with her? What's going on with her? And why is she being irresponsible? She's being late. But instead of us judging people, let's take the time and ask them, like, hey, is everything okay? Is there something else going on? This isn't like you. Because, and you know, we just don't know that sometimes that's all people need. So I'm really glad that she like got over herself, because you gotta let people still make their own decision. Like, don't rob her of the decision. You don't know. And we're so afraid of rejection, right? Because it's like, she finds out I have cancer, she's not going to want me. But you don't know that. Give people the opportunity to make a choice. Don't rob them from their choice.
Right.
That's my word.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that Rakesh is starting to get more involved with the friend suggestions.
Because I feel like, was it me and you who said we was crushing on him last season?
It was you. Yeah.
Oh, just me and me.
Yeah.
Well, I love you, Rakesh.
I'm like, ride or die for Miles and Miles only. So
Why she's like, you're the person.
Let's be clear. I'm Team Miles. But no, like, the fact that this young man, and that's the thing, this young man had his eyes set on what his future was going to look like. He knew what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that trajectory changed based on all that happened in this episode. And Rakesh came in and said, you know what? I'll put in a call for MIT. I'll get you this internship. So I really love how Rakesh is starting to really just be on his own. Like he said, like he can finally see what life looks like without Jaya. And I think that's, breakups are really hard, but if we can keep our eyes set on our purpose, it makes it easy to move on.
I love him.
Guys.
Because last he pulled up on a princess.
I also feel like, if you're going through a tough time, like something I recently learned just from listening to podcasts is that if you have someone who needs your help, then that's like a good way. Like if you feel like you have nothing, like that you're down on your luck, that you don't want to live anymore, whatever it is, you find someone who like needs you or like needs help and you give that help to them, and then you realize that there is like purpose in serving others and being of benefit to others.
Right.
So I think that's great because that's exactly what Rakesh is doing, and just to see him like really grow and mature and be like, here, I got you an internship, stay out of trouble. I feel like we are finally starting to see him in a role where he's like more paternal and like, fatherly versus just like the little kid who's like, but I'm in love with you and it's true love.
Yeah.
So like it's a really nice side of him to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I believe in life that you should always be giving and receiving. You should be in the middle. It should be somebody who's mentoring you or you're getting, your wisdom from. And I believe that you should be passing that along as well. It's like a chain.
Yeah.
So I agree with you 100%.
Well, guys, it's time for our favorite girl with our good news. Rochelle's going to tell us what things are popping over here.
Hey, friend, hey. Well, I'm your girl here with your good news. And the good news today is about Mr. Joe Morton because, we kind of... Oh, there we go. You feel it? I was waiting.
But got the good news.
The good news today is that you guys, if you didn't know, that Joe Morton awesomely directed and acted in this episode, which is awesome. I love that. So we can give him a round of applause.
Yes.
You guys can check out on the screen as well.
Yes.
And if you look on their Instagram, they go ahead and show and shout him out, see him working. And I love that in those type of, what can we call it, like the acting family or, behind the scenes family when they allow people to try different hats, It's so many things you can produce, right? So many things I don't even know of. So I think that's really dope that Joe Morton showed another awesome skill that he has besides speaking a good word on Twitter or acting amazingly is that he's directing as well. So shout out to you. We appreciate and we love that. So congratulations to him on that. And that is about it with the good.
Oh, come on. And speaking of a word, we want to get into our special segment, God Speaks, where the ladies, we go into just how God has spoken to us this week. And make sure that on the chat, you talk to us too, or leave us a comment on how God spoke to you this week. So what about you, Mina? How did God speak to you this week? Or do you have a cool...
Every time I stumble upon Joe Morton's tweet, it
go.
speaks life
He
into
has
me.
the best.
And this week he said, because of our poker theme in this week's episode, Joe Morton says, life is a poker game to which we are all invited. Our wins and losses depend on how we play the hand we are dealt. And I was like thinking about this a lot because I do have a personal tie to poker because of someone that I love who's really close to me playing it professionally. And in poker, you can raise, you can fold, you can bet on your hand, and you never know what's going to come on the flop or the turn or the river. And you're playing with all these different variables. But what you can do is play to the best of your ability. And there are so many things outside of your control. I just think that poker is such a great analogy for life, much like other strategy games. It really kind of shows the dynamics of like reading people, and just like you never know what's gonna happen.
I love that.
As in for me, I've been reading like every day. Well, I told myself that to keep my what we could say, relationship with God is stronger, is that I should start doing daily devotions. So I have this old book by Joel Osteen, such an amazing guy. I don't know him personally, but you know, he seems amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, he has a day-by-day devotion, and what I read yesterday, I can't remember word by word, but basically he was talking about how puzzles, sometimes when you start off with a puzzle and you see like a piece in the middle or something like that, and you're looking, you can't find it, you'd be like, where does this go? Like, maybe this is wrong, maybe the company messed up or something. And in life, that's how life is. Sometimes it's a situation that you're going to and you're like, why is this even happening? Like, it's so irrelevant to my life, it has nowhere. Why am I going back to school? Why am I this? Why did I get fired? Whatever the situation may be. But until you know the entirety, or one day it will like all comes together. So just wrapping all that mess, and I'm still trying to digest. That was my word. It's just like sometimes whatever I may be going through, I may not understand it today, but it's an important piece of the puzzle, you know. Without that piece, nothing will happen, but we just have to go through it and figure it out, you know, until it gets there. So that's something that's kind of like getting me past the 36 hours. So yeah, that's my word.
Love it.
Shout out to Joe Osteen.
Well, it's interesting. There's this quote that I've heard a million times, but I really heard it in my spirit this week is practice what you preach.
Ooh.
And so for some of you out there, you may or may not know, but I lead a Bible study, and I'm also a minister in training. So
Come on, somebody.
I preached my first sermon last Sunday at church.
Congratulations.
Which is why we weren't here last week. Sorry, y'all. I was, preaching the gospel.
Hello.
And it's interesting. I really do believe that you get tested on whatever you teach or whatever you preach. So, and not necessarily just in the official capacity, but whatever you're trying to tell your mama to stop doing, or trying to tell your friend, girl, why are you doing that? And don't date him. Something will enter your life that'll be a mirror to help you practice exactly what you're preaching to someone else. So again, always be aware that God will put it in front of you in order for you to then not judge other people, because I feel like it's really easy to judge someone else's decision, and sometimes God will put you in the same situation to see then, okay, how would you handle it?
Yeah.
So it's time to practice what you preach, give yourself some grace and love, and that's where I'm at this week.
Thank you for sharing that, because I didn't even think about God putting you in the same situation that you may be judging. So that's good. I'm gonna
Yeah.
Don't want that.
Pray for y'all. Pray for you. Pray for me. And what do you guys think about next week? Do we have any predictions for what's gonna happen next week?
I'm gonna wait for the
Your
prediction.
AfterBuzz TV prediction.
Prediction is Rakesh, Miles, and Cara all gonna start dating new people, and I'm here for it.
Woo!
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mina?
We know that's gonna happen. I just feel like I'm gonna get so annoyed. And even though Cara has the right to do it, it just would bother me if she wasn't in a relationship with Miles because she's not ready, or she feels, some sort of uncertainty, and then she just jumps into something with someone else when she hasn't done the work to really understand herself, love herself.
Self-love.
You know what I mean? It would bother me. It would bother me. And it would even bother me if Miles entered a relationship because, he's
good.
Yeah, but he is good. But if you just had something with Cara and, it's something that you wanted for a long time, have respect for that relationship before moving on when you guys are working together and still friends.
Plus,
have respect.
Miles said he's giving up on love to focus on Allie in the God account. So as far as I'm concerned, if you were going to take a second shot, it should be with her and not with somebody else. So I agree.
Yeah.
Sorry, y'all.
We gonna wait till next week because I just had to swallow.
Yes, take it in. But my prediction, honestly, is that Rakesh and Jaya are going to have some closure. I think that if he does date some other people, she's going to come back into the picture. It's going to get a little messy, but God always works it out for the greater good. So that's my prediction for next week.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys tell us what your predictions are. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for hanging out with us. I'm your favorite Afro-Latina, Franceli Chapman. You can follow me at all of the things at Celly Hangout. Let the people know about...
Yes, friends. Make sure you guys, if you guys have an Instagram, please follow me on Instagram at RoachBaby. That's RoachBaby. And I do want to shout out this company, Money I Believe in Company. Thank you guys so much for blessing me with this awesome merchandise. Y'all keep doing y'all thing. What about you, friends?
You guys can follow me on TikTok. Yes, I want to be TikTok famous.
I want to bring it down.
At Mina Makes Magic, TikTok. Go follow me right now.
I'm about to follow.
But we'll see you guys next week. We love y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.